Okay, this is the video lecture for gender roles for Sissonville High School. You do not have a PowerPoint shell or anything, so you'll want to take notes on some paper or type it into your laptop or enter it into your phone. However you take notes, you'll want to do that. So here we go. Now there's a difference between gender and sex, and I've already sent you some videos on the internet, the special topic internet stuff with pornography, and also on domestic violence. And our discussion of gender will kind of factor into those discussions as well. Where we've missed so much class, I'm having to kind of weave this together here on this video. So think of this in terms of the stuff we talked about with domestic violence and with the internet stuff. Now there's a difference between gender and sex. A lot of times people confuse the two. Sex refers to being biologically male or female. That's good to write down, by the way. Most of us are born being either male or female, with few exceptions. Now, gender, on the other hand, is the social or the cultural construction involving how roles are assigned to being male or female. We'll talk about that. So we're all born male or female for the most part. Gender is how society teaches you to be a male or how it teaches you to be a female. And more about that coming quickly. Notions about what is gender appropriate will vary from place to place. Within our society that we live in, we are taught as men and women what is appropriate and what is inappropriate in terms of our place as men and women. So let me ask you a question. How many of you, especially ladies who are watching this video, and the guys too, how many of you would feel that this is an appropriate role for women? I've never traveled to Amsterdam. However, I had adjust my camera a little bit so we can see this a little better here. I had a former student who was in the service, and he traveled to Amsterdam, and one of the things that he mentioned was the fact that prostitution was legal. You could literally walk by. Here's some images of Amsterdam in the Netherlands. You could walk by various buildings with windows, and you could literally window shop for the prostitute of your choice. So again, my question is for you ladies, and if your parents are viewing this with you or after you, how many of you would be comfortable with this as an appropriate role for women? I have a 16-year-old daughter, and I would certainly have problems with that myself, based on the way we have been socialized within our culture. And this is the statute that kind of denotes the district where you can purchase said services, and we'll leave it at that. That's a picture of a receipt. The student that I had in my class previously mentioned that you would actually get a receipt. I mean, you would pay for a service, if you catch my drift, okay, and you would get a receipt for that service. So it was like buying a loaf of bread or buying a pair of tennis shoes. It shows the transaction. So that's very strange to most of us, and certainly for me as well. Test yourself. On the following slide, identify which traits are masculine and which ones are feminine. Masculine are traits that are associated with being men or a man. Feminine traits more associated with being a woman or a girl. So what I'm going to do, I think you guys can see these, I hope. You can pause it if you need to, and I'll read through these in case you can't see them. Traits 1 through 18. 1 is active, 2 is considerate, 3 is aggressive, 4 creative, 5 ambitious, 6 competitive, 7 emotional, 8 independent, 9 artistic, 10 displays leadership, 11 excitable, 12 empathic, 13 mechanical, 14 gentle, 15 outspoken, 16 neat, 17 persistent, 18 understanding. So what I want you to do is take a few seconds and check off for each of those 18 characteristics which one you think are more representative of males and which ones are more representative of females. And you can kind of pause this if you want to, and I'm going to move on to the next slide. Now, the same chart has been used to assess gender stereotypes among college students. Did you choose the same traits as the consensus? Essentially, what tends to happen here is that the even-numbered items are usually classified as being female traits or feminine traits, while the odd-numbered items on that chart you just looked at were considered to be male traits. So if you can kind of go back and look at that and see, so, you know, active, aggressive, ambitious, emotional, artistic, excitable, etc. You can kind of see how that works. Instrumental traits are traits associated with males. They describe individuals who act on the world and influence it. So they are controlling things. Expressive traits or roles are traits associated with females. These describe emotional functioning and individuals who value interpersonal relationships. And again, some of these are overgeneralizations or stereotypes. Not all men will fit into the nice masculine stereotype, and not all women will fit into the nice feminine stereotype. All gender stereotypes refer to an image of what the typical member of a particular social category is like. And we've talked about stereotypes a little bit in class already. Children's stereotypes of boys and girls. This is a different chart, and basically what you see is by the age of 5, boys and girls alike pretty much have an idea, about 50%, they're 50% of the way there in terms of understanding what society sets forth as the stereotypical gender roles for men and women. At the age of 5, boys and girls both agree that boys are strong, they're aggressive, disorderly, cruel, ambitious, dominant. Okay. And you can see the same for girls at the age of 5. By the age of 11, both boys and girls pretty much have the stereotypes down pat. They understand and internalize what it means to be men and women and what society, or rather how society defines that. So why do we assume this is a girl? Is it because women, mothers, are primarily the caregivers of children? Can fathers or young boys feed their babies or children or their younger relatives? Gender stereotypes. Children understand these stereotypes by the time they enter kindergarten. And their understanding grows throughout their elementary school years, like we just talked about. But they also begin to understand that gender stereotypes don't always apply. Now, another term that I want to talk to you about, gender stratification. This refers to the unequal distribution of wealth, power, and privilege that exists between men and women. Example that I always go to is the earnings differential, or the earnings difference. For doing exactly the same job in this country, women will make 78 cents for every male dollar. Now that number is a little dated. I've seen recent research that suggests women are now making about 81 cents for every male dollar for doing exactly the same job that a man does. So this speaks to how we assign different levels of status and different levels of importance to men and women. We tend to value men's work more. We tend to value men more than women, even within our society. And you see that, you can see this very simply and quickly by looking at the earnings differential here. We could also, another example that I don't have on here, we could also look at it in terms of leadership. There hasn't been a female president in our country yet, anyway. Most people who occupy high-level offices in companies, Fortune 500 companies especially, the vast majority of those positions of power are still held by men, overwhelmingly, as a matter of fact. We'll go ahead and call that the end of this part. Thanks.